Well,
We're talking about why Rashid is so tall, and we can't explain it. It's because he is the same person as Vateron, and you can't prove it or disprove it.
it's not like you've ever seen them both at the same place at the same time, guys.
Exactly. They're both missing an eye.
Right. How many
Changes.
one-eyed guys are running around?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Several.
not the same. This is
2 or 3. But
I'm helping. Okay, so we were also talking about the height, which is really where this got in. So we're doing this whole like in the middle thing. So catch up, everybody. Like, pay attention. This is important.
It's called
But
a
Rashid-
cold open. Ha.
Rashid is taller because hierarchical scale. Because Dresden's fucking tall because he based him off of his friend, and everybody else who's a badass has to be taller than Dresden. Otherwise, he's just beating up on small people all the time. That's a word of Jim.
Mhm.
So everybody's taller than Dresden, who's important or scary or whatever.
Dresden is also ridiculously tall, so other people have to become more ridiculously taller.
Right. Because he's 6'9", 10, or 11, depending on what the story needs today. So
Yeah. And then him and Murphy.
at a certain point, he has to duck to enter doors, though. I wonder if...
Well, doors,
And that also
standard
changes.
doors in the U.S. are 6'8", so he has to duck.
He does have to duck.
unless
Okay.
he's slouching because he's a sloucher. He's a slouchy McSloucherson.
When you wear a duster, you can slouch.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
I don't wear a duster enough to know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Neither do I, but I'm going to assume that's the reason. See, that's the real reason he doesn't wear a hat, is because otherwise he'd bump
I'm
his
not-
head on the door the whole time.
I'm not.
That's
cool
actually a really good
enough.
reason.
Oh, that is
Unlucky.
headcanon. Headcanon! I'm so clever.
Oh, God.
Okay. So let's save everybody else in the entire. We lost the
Strike
director.
5.
No, 6. We're counting by twos. We already talked about this.
And we lost the director.
Yep, she did. If we keep going, she might actually stay dead. Like, she's what? We haven't even said anything funny. That's terrible. Like,
Apparently, you just don't have the same level of humor as she does.
yes, I appreciate you having a low entertainment threshold for the rest of us.
I mean,
Oh,
she thinks
man.
Vatarung and Rashid are the same person. Her thresholds are like,
No wonder I got the invite. Oh, good heavens.
Super low. Yeah. I mean, shit, I'm this funny all the time. Like, I could be asleep and be this funny. Come on.
You're that unfunny all the time?
It's
strike
a lot of
7.
effort. We're just skipping around whatever number. Okay, so we're doing Q&A stuff, right?
Yes, hopefully attempting to.
So, EG,
We do
since
have-
you're the serious one, do you want to lead us through this?
That's what we
Because
got out of this?
We do have
You don't laugh
news.
at anything, so.
Okay.
We do have news if you want to do.
Anything, what we can get out of EG is a slight chuckle.
A robust.
A guffaw. You know.
Sensible
But
chuckle.
The
Sensible
news does
chuckle.
make sense. You know, once upon a time we had a format and news came before the director laughed until she died from it. So, do you want to tell everybody about why I'm mad about the news, Ben?
Oh yes, the news is that there are 2 new expansions for the Dresden Files cooperative card game, and Justin does not own them yet, and he did not know about them.
I know, right? It's news to me.
You didn't know
They
about the
add,
card game in general?
No, I've got all the boosters. That's part of why I'm mad, because there's new ones and I don't have them yet.
They have it's Dead Ends with which is the name of the expansion that has Changes, Ghost Story, Jared Kincaid, and Mortimer Linguist. And then there's Winter Schemes, which has Cold Days and Skin Game, along with Winter Night Harry and Winter Night Molly. So
Winter Lady.
Winter Lady, right?
Yeah, Winter
Winter
Night.
Lady. Oh, she's not Winter Night. Winter
Dude,
Lady Molly. Winter
I can't-
Molly.
I can't
wrote it
wait
down.
until we get to Mirror Mirror all of a sudden, because I wonder if they're going to do like a whole shadow game. It's like Mirror Harry and Mirror Molly and Mirror everybody.
Mirror
I'm
Molly has a
super
mustache
curious
and a goatee.
Yes.
Mirror Molly is also the Winter Lady. I'm excited to find that out.
I am also excited to find out if they have mustaches, because that'll finally get us away from the everybody in Dresden Files is beautiful thing. Be like, yeah, but in the Mirror universe they're not. Ha ha. No, people keep thinking it's going to be too literal, guys. It's not light and dark. It's one decision. So,
But apparently the decision does include having a goatee.
well, I mean,
He has
Harry grows a
confirmed that.
goatee.
Yeah, when you go
Yes.
evil, goatee's just kind of.
He's
Standard.
ripping off Star
It's the way
Trek,
to
but at
go,
the
isn't
same time, like, I mean,
If
guess what? Marcone's still a murdering bastard, so you know.
EG, you do have 50% of a goatee. You realize that, right?
It's called a
Yeah,
mustache, bro.
It's the non-evil
We-
part. So
That's bad with the
we
goatee.
We have a fucking word for what he has. It's not 50% of a thing. He has a mustache.
Fine, then you have 100% of a goatee. How's
And
that?
you
You're
have
just trying to hide
100% of a
beneath
beard.
you're trying to hide it beneath that beard to try and throw everyone off the trail that you're not the evil one. I see what you're doing.
Maybe he's trying to get away with a crime. That's why he had to shave the head.
That makes more sense. I was going to say lice, but that makes more sense.
Whoa. God. Okay, so
Okay, content.
the Q&A,
Mm.
while Ben still has a sliver of like self-respect left. Like,
Yikes! Too late.
Q&A.
right.
So back to the
We
word.
re- we realized that there were things we hadn't talked about. I mean, we talked about a lot of the cool and exciting things because we went through the list. We checked it twice, and I'm gonna leave that.
Twice.
There you go. So
That's the song, right?
Well,
I mean, that's an American song. It's not. It's like I got that
Really?
from movies.
isn't it from your neighborhood? Like Santa Claus is your guy, dude.
well, yeah, but the song is definitely made like it's. I got it from American movies. Let me put it like that.
listen, it's canon in the Dresden verse. Kringle was whistling that to himself when he leaves the island.
That's awesome. I can't wait for my reread. I finally figured out my timing. I know this is super exciting for everybody, but as soon as he says that it's sent to the publisher, then I'll know I'll have 3 to 6 months to read the Dresden Files to catch up. So I'm waiting for that tweet. But
The way he does it is like the end on Twitter, right? Then we know he's done.
Right.
It's like it's sent to the publisher.
for sure. Okay, EG, let's do this. Let's like do a show with content and stuff.
Yeah.
The first
Here.
thing on the list, Uriel power level, and he who walks behind. Take it away.
Okay. So during the last AMA, which we didn't quite get into as much as we did the various slew of Q&As that came up, which makes sense because they were kind of rapid fire and they came out a bunch. But the Q&A had plenty of good content too. And among other things, one of the questions somebody asked was whether or not he who walks behind was slowing time down around the clerk who tried to run away in Ghost Story. And if not, how was he slowed down? And the answer Jim gave us was that he who walks behind, being a walker, is an outsider on a similar power level to Uriel. He can do all kinds of stuff, but also has a lot of weird limits as to when and where he can use his power. So, whereas some of us, myself included, tended to put he who walks behind as in that Mab Titania tier level because of the comment in Cold Days, we now know is not really accurate.
Now I'm trying to remember. So the Archangels are definitely more powerful. They're more mother level.
Or more
Yeah.
than mother level, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Once you start getting into being able to erase galaxies without a thought. I mean, Mab and Titania are wonderful and powerful and peers of the Archangels, but they're peers in the same way, the Earl King is a peer of Mabs, but he's nowhere near the same power level. They
Sure.
So in
work in the
terms-
same general sphere of influence. They do the same general roles. They all know each other. They're buddy-buddy in that way. But if it came down to a no-holds-barred, straight-up, all rules are off, who's going to win? I mean, Uriel just flicks Mab away. And it's not even really a question.
Assuming he's got the unrestricted.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
ability to do so.
The end of the universe, everything's off. Nobody's got a rule. No one's got a compulsion. Nobody's got a big brother in their ear saying, "Hey, don't do this." He'd destroy her.
Gotcha. Okay.
She's part of the seasons. She's terrestrial. She's on Earth.
Sure.
So does this mean that he who walks behind and the walkers are multiversal as well, or is it just a general, better than the queens sort of thing?
So
Hard to say.
I would say that by their nature, the outsiders are, right? Because they're outside looking in. I mean, it's a little bit different because
Outside what? Just
Outside reality.
space or
Reality.
space and time? Never.
outside the gates, so they're outside of reality because the white god banished them, is what I understand. And I don't know how much of that is like supernatural bleeding over, but So, thank you for the sensible chuckle. But anyway, so like, and it might be that once the outsiders actually break in, they are more local. But as far as like the bulk of their forces and stuff, I mean, the implication we've seen from some theories, from some of the discussions we've had, and some, word of Jim, I don't remember where everything falls at the moment, but the outsiders are breaking in, and it's like a war against the multiverse, and each pocket universe has its own piece of it, So that to me implies some of the universes lose and become little, it's like, think of like a virus, right? Some cells get infected and spawn more virus, and some resist it. And theoretically, this is a story about our universe being one of the ones that resist it, I would imagine, because it's not really American storytelling to have a downer ending. So, like,
so the real question is: are the outsiders? Is there a lot of walkers, or is there one walker, like this one Uriel, who's outside all these different timelines?
Whoa.
And if
Don't
so,
we know that
are they
there's
trying
3?
to break into every timeline?
I thought there were 4.
Mac put 3 beers on the counter.
Okay, fair enough.
What I mean is, okay, so he who walks behind, is he who walks behind? There's one of him, like there's one Uriel, and there's
Right.
also one Michael, and there's one who walks before. You know what I mean?
It could get tricky because depending on how much of, like, say, the Apocrypha and other stuff you're using, like in Christianity, like there's 4 main archangels for most people, but there are
3
others that are
usually.
mentioned.
3 usually,
Well,
right? Depending.
So you've got
Rosa.
Michael, you've got Raphael, right?
And
The
Gabriel.
Ninja Turtles, right? So
No. There's no Leonardo or Donatello. Archangel.
fine.
So Michael, Gabriel, and Raphael, with Uriel being the odd one out.
Right.
Included is kind of
So-
a nod to the 4 corners of the earth, and so on and so on.
Right, but again, in the Apocrypha, I think there are other angels. Like there are the angels that give like men's steel and all that other nonsense. Like it's been, I mean, shit, it was high school when I was reading some of this, so don't hold it against me. But there are quite a few others, so that might be worth an episode going into. But at the very least, we have 4. So, I mean, if there is a comparable number, like we know if we're taking the 3 that you mentioned biblically and then add Uriel to the mix, that's at least 4, which is 1 over the knights, the outsiders. So I have
you stick with the B's. You got before, behind, below, above,
right,
above.
reading, writing, and arithmetic. So your 3 R's. So I'll allow it. It's fine. But no, I think I got stuck on 4 because it was symmetrical with the angels, but also like, we've got before, behind, beside. But I was like, but there's a left side and a right side, right? So that there's 2 besides. I don't know.
We have no real proof it needs to start with B.
Yeah, that's true. But the Butcher likes his naming conventions, and it's all speculation anyway. So it's a true point. But it's kind of more for fun tinfoil.
What's an M name that we could involve here? Because we know it's going to have an M in it. So
Malevolent. I don't know.
yeah, but there you go. Well, I mean, we do have Nemesis, so maybe he's the 4th knight, the 4th walker.
That's N, not M.
Well, I know,
That's
but
not enough.
it's got an M in it.
Nemesis.
Menesis. Now I'm going to get in trouble if I finish this thought. So anyway. Okay, so we got the walkers. They're on a similar power level, which to me kind of implies, again, multiversal, but that all gets weird anyway. So maybe we'll see how that plays out in Mirror
I
Mirror
don't
more.
fully remember, and E.G. has disappeared for a little bit, but I had thought that someone somewhere has confirmation from Jim that none of the outsiders have ever gotten into our universe, because if they get into one of the realities, they get into all of them.
Oh, really?
I thought so,
Okay.
but our
True.
source
That
person.
means there's only one of them.
Anyway.
Probably.
I
But-
think so.
Why our universe? Why not one of the others? Are they trying in multiple universes at the same time?
It
Well,
seems
yeah,
that
they'd
they
be
want
trying
this.
in all of them.
Yeah, all of the realities of the one universe. We need better jargon to discuss this. We're really running out of words.
cosmology, universe. I mean, to be fair, it's not like our limited 3-dimensional existence spends a lot of time in these other dimensions. So you're going to give yourself a headache. I see that look.
It's just like, I remembered about the insiders. And are the insiders multidimensional too? Oh God.
Well, and that's a fair point. I mean, is the sleeper, is he a walker or is he something else? I mean,
According to Carlos, it's like they're the same thing, just inside versus outside. So he belongs in this reality. He's just also terrifying, I guess, to put it simply.
right. And I mean, that I don't know. Well, it's partially answered and partially I would draw from, again, things like it's two things that come to mind, ironically, because my brain just ranges everywhere. It's Mass Effect and the whole freaking like Harbinger, right? We had one of the Reapers that got left behind. Sorry, nerding out for a second. And then the Supernatural again, because they deal with some similar themes there. And if you're drawing from mythology, like there's only so much mythology out there. So I'm just going to buckle the belt. I'm going to say we'll get there when we get there, and I'm okay with it. Speculation is fun, but it's just an interesting piece of the puzzle. So
let's see. Next one.
Next one. Someone had asked, will there be a redemption arc for Shadow and Mouse's other sibling? And Jim's reaction was, why would I tell you that?
So probably not then.
Yeah. It's that normal, I'm not going to tell you answer, which in my general understanding means yes.
So he's going to have a kumbaya moment. They're going to have an intervention with Cal Kumori, Shadow, Nemesis, the Sleeper. Everybody's going to have tea. We're going to call it peace talks. Oh, wait, sorry. Everything's going to happen in peace talks.
Yes.
Well, I do appreciate how Butcher has kind of written his bad guy characters, his antagonist or evil characters, even when their protagonists are allied with the protagonist. Like Nicodemus. Nicodemus in Skin Game, when confronted, just doubles down. Right, that's something I always appreciated about that climax. Is there's that moment where he's almost there, almost teetering, and he still goes that way.
And then it gets
kind of that heartfelt,
He wants
effective
you.
talk.
It's the fallacy of like you've invested so much, like you're just gonna keep going. He's invested 2,000 years. He's like, I ain't quitting now.
The hardest choices take the strongest wills.
What did it cost, Nicodemus?
Yeah,
Everything.
I mean, it. Come on. Now that we know, like the parallel is there, like come on. So.
Sure.
And the director has no idea what we're talking about.
Nope.
God, you should watch a movie once. Just once. Just once.
I watch
never
movies.
remember where
Like
it's from. To be honest.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Okay,
Moving on.
next one.
In a related discussion of the Foo Dogs, someone asked, is Brother Wang ever going to come back and try to claim the dogs that were missing or apparently stolen? And Jim says, well, they don't have troubleshooters, so they might have difficulty doing that. But that's also assuming that they want the dogs back and that they didn't end up exactly where they were supposed to be.
Which
That's very zen.
Yeah.
Very yin yang.
that's fair. But I liked that answer a lot. The whole like, how do you know they're not where they were supposed to be? And it's like, damn it. Now we're getting like Matrix meta level, like, don't worry about the vase type of bullshit. Like, I'm just like, how do I even jive that thing? Because like Wang was clearly like, less is better, or less is better than none.
Mhm.
But so yeah, just like, and how many none? Because it's 3, right? They said they took 2 off. They
Yeah,
took
the
a
largest
and a
male and largest female. And then Mouse ended up with, of course it was 3, because that's a magic number.
Coincidence, totally.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's entirely possible that Brother Wang saying, "Well, less is better than none," would very quickly come to that kind of sense that the dogs are where they should be. He has the ones that he should have, and the ones that are missing were supposed to be missing. it's very possible that he came to that conclusion or realization very quickly. Especially if he's in a monastery and lives with the dogs, and that's his entire purpose as a Tibetan monk living with these dogs,
Right.
taking care of those things.
I just realized with the whole him and her thing, like, the male and female dog, and knowing that it's pretty much Cal and Kumori. So it's like, yep, they each got a puppy. Oh, they took their relationship to the next level. Like,
Matching his and her foo dogs.
well, yeah, evil foo dogs. They're like the power evil couple. Like, I mean, we're gonna have to give them a name, right? Like, Cal and Kumori would be like
Calamari.
Yeah.
Calamari.
What about
There you go.
Calamari.
Call them by their true names, Petrovich and Elaine.
Oh, you think it's Elaine? You're gonna stick to
No.
that one?
No, I don't.
It's actually Rashid, as he is everyone.
Right. Yeah. We don't know that Cal doesn't only have one eye, and we've never seen Cal and Rashid.
He may
in
have
one
no
place.
eyes. He
Right.
might not even have a head. We don't know.
We has to have something holding up his hood.
Yeah. I mean, I think that takes the Witch King references just a little too far. Like like,
Hmm.
The Witch King from Lord of the Rings.
good job.
From Lord of the Rings.
Somebody read the book sometimes.
It's actually from Narnia. Right.
It's not.
Don't tell me the rules, Witch. I was there when they were written. Anyway.
All right, next one.
On to, I guess, maybe similar segue. I don't know. Someone asked, are we going to see the other archangels? And he says, I'm not going to tell you. So, yes.
yes.
Right.
Never.
Well, the thing is, how are you going to see the other archangels, right? Because,
Well, I think we've already seen Gabriel. I'm pretty sure. Well, I shouldn't say pretty sure. I think he's the one that spoke through Murphy.
That's
Because,
fair.
he's the trumpeter. He's
Actually, that's not Michael.
I'm not sure of it. I said I think.
Well, and Michael you could imply a connection with Michael and Amarachius. So since he gave it to Michael, right?
No, Susan had Amarachius.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So he might have been there with Susan, but Murphy was the one spouting off. So,
And Murphy had Phytolacchius.
right.
Yep.
It's possible.
See, Michael's
think-
been hinted at least because he gave the sword to Sonya
Hmm.
and all that stuff. Raphael's been hinted at because one of his lieutenants, quote unquote, were the ones who did the spell work on the Carpenter's panic room.
Hmm.
And
Which seems a lot more like Raphael, right? Raphael's the one Tobit, where he's just kind of a helper.
So, which one is the whole angel of death thingy that was going to escort Fort Hill if Fort
He
Hill
was
needed to
just an
die?
angel.
she was a generic
but is
Seraph
there,
number
like-
B.
Is one of those major ones like in charge of the dead thingies? I don't know Christian mythology very well.
I only know
No,
if it's supernatural, and the answer is no.
Yeah, no. I mean,
I was going
You could-
to
you could-
Diablo, but
given what Uriel's been attributed to doing in the Dresden verse, you could, I guess, give that to him. He was the one there slaying the firstborn in Egypt and all that kind of stuff. That's very Angel of Deathy.
Yeah, that's the Dresden verse association. Is Angel of Death would be that, but the psychopop you're talking about in ghost stories, the closest thing I can think of would be something like a guardian angel, which, having Father Forthill have a guardian angel like that would be pretty appropriate. And that Harry only sees the guardian angel at that time is just kind of, plot convenience, good for the moment. But in any case, that's probably the closest you're going to get to something like that in Christian theology.
Okay. So on to other gods. There was I don't remember where exactly this came from, but someone asked stuff about the old gods essentially, and help me out here, EG. They had their power curtailed and limits
Yeah.
were set upon them after a point.
Yeah, this was also the AMA. So the question was, did Vadarung sacrifice anything to be able to spend so much time on Earth, or is he just at a higher risk than most prefer, or something else entirely? Because there was a word to Jim once before about how, Vadarung could be more powerful than he is. He chooses to stay involved. So if he stays in the mortal world and plays in the mortal world, he's mortal, and you can come along and kill him, essentially. And then there was another reference recently, I think it was the same AMA, to, or maybe it was one of the Q&As. Either way, that Kringle was kind of how Odin circumvents getting old and dying now.
Because
So
he just has different ways of getting worship.
Interesting.
Well,
Wonder what
that, or it's a Fey mantle, so maybe in that way it helps him with the immortality. Because the Norse were never really true immortals, as I remember it. They're not like the Olympian gods who just kind of were immortals. They stayed immortal because they ate golden apples and this, that, or the other thing. But they were all essentially just really strong people.
Yeah, and they all have their death written in Ragnarok.
Irish gods and the Norse actually have a lot in common. But here, the Norse is golden apples, and in Irish it's like a beer or a special food. But they were also they're basically like heroes, really strong mortals who sort of become gods, kinda. And you can look at the Norse in the same way. They can be killed. There's a story where Loki kills one of the god that everybody likes the most.
Balder, right?
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, so the word of Jim that the answer was given for that was over several different points of the Dresden Files universe, the old god's power was curtailed, limits set upon it, so that they wouldn't be able to do as much interfering with the development of humans. That was fine with most of them. They were kind of self-absorbed jerks anyway, a lot of them. But a few wanted to keep walking beside and guiding humanity. I don't want to ruin the rest of the story for you, and it will be further down the line. Now, I do remember from the New York Q&A that I went to, somebody else asked him something similar to that, and he did mention, he reiterated that point, and he also threw in the tidbit about how, but a lot of the old gods were nervous about that because, if you keep interfering, then you're going to have a bunch of humans who may not have been too happy, like, oh, you turned into an eagle and did this to my wife. So they sort of stopped interfering so much in humanity.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, if your answer to everything is turn into a duck and try and fuck it, Zeus, then maybe you should stop coming to the party, man. Like,
who invited that guy?
Mostly
I don't know if
turn
anyone
to the sand
invites him.
and
Kronos.
himself.
I wonder what role Odin and some of those older figures had at Hastings or whatever that climactic cataclysmic event was that killed the previous. Was it Mother Summer? Or whatever it was.
Map and Titania became the queens at the Battle of Hastings, and the Norse hold over stuff, including the Outer Gates, switched over to the fairies. So
since the Norse power was waning, I'd wager most of them were dying or ceasing to exist in other ways.
Yeah.
Maybe failing at protecting the gates.
Well, since the gates didn't fall, I more imagine like their mantles were getting gobbled up and transformed.
They just needed to kind of pass it on to someone who was up and coming and still strong versus they were waning.
Right. Well, the She were made for a reason. Odin makes a passing reference to the Jotuns retreating, and that's when everyone sort of lost their purpose. So I tend to think that the Jotuns were kind of like the winter foot soldiers, that they were the ones that were also at the gates, maybe guarding. Yeah, like it could have been the war with them. But there's also
Jotuns were Fomor.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So if they went over instead to, so they fell, sort of. Like they, you call it nemesis corruption or call it they just didn't want to do it anymore. But they abandoned their post and, well, now we need guardians because,
One of the things that Jim said is that people were asking kind of similar things of what are the old gods doing, is that when Odin made the decision to become more mortal, that's when Thor took an issue with it and he decided to go play college football for the rest of his days because he was unhappy with the idea of becoming more mortal and less involved. I don't know what he's intending on doing then by playing college football.
Glory lives forever.
Staying alive.
Right. Like he doesn't necessarily have to have an overarching goal, but especially if his like crowning achievement for the rest of his immortality is playing college football until.
Well, no. He's going to quickly transition into wrestling entertainment.
I really hope so. I mean,
team heel turn. That's a heel turn kind of answer.
Hashtag team heel turn.
Roll Tide.
Team heel turn. Roll Tide. Roll Tide is not the same.
I don't know. I'm just saying things I don't know what this
For Thor's purposes, it might as well.
Roll Tide would be a great title for a Dresden Files book. 4 letters, 4 letters.
No, it's terrible connotations.
So on the topic of heel turn, which that's the title it's going to be now.
What Roll Tide?
Hey, that's another Q&A thing, though, right? It's another Q&A development.
Well,
Somebody told
not
the
exactly.
title.
That's we got a new title, and then I tried to slip him $20 to change the title to heel.
But he seemed excited about it, so
Yes.
I'm just assuming
So
it works.
I'm hoping that it sticks with
Okay.
it.
Sorry, I interrupted. What did you say?
Someone had been asking, I don't remember where, would we see more of the Celtic gods? They seem to be coming more frequently. And he said, like, specifically, we'll see someone from the Tuatha in Book 19, which is heel turn. Right?
Isn't that Tuatha Dé
no.
Danann?
No, 18.
No, 19 is not heel turn. 19 is the one after, isn't it?
Right.
Well, because
Okay, so 18.
yeah, because Peace
Peace
Talks
Talks
is 16.
Then mirror, then
Okay,
heel turn.
turn. Okay, yeah. So I mixed it up, but we see one in Book 19, whichever one that's called.
The kaiju thing, we got to figure that one out. Because that's probably going to be 19. So
Okay, no reason to say not at the moment.
Well, it's
I mean,
also going to be
gotta
dragons.
something, right?
Book 19 is also slated for dragons.
Really?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's, I mean,
Where's that come from?
Years ago.
yeah, it's
Well, let's face it. Book 20 is a Denarian book, and it's unless he adds another book, it's going to be the last one before the big apocalyptic trilogy. So dragons.
Pretty sure though that he's going to add some more because he's gotten more stories than he intended. So I think it might have been on this podcast or it might have been another Q&A. But I remember him saying he wasn't saying sure originally he planned 20, but he's written more stories that he didn't plan, so it might be 22.
Right, it might be 21, 22, whatever it'll.
right,
Also, he calls it the Big Ass Trilogy.
Yep.
Not apocalyptic. That was fun.
right. I'm a buckle
So,
in.
hey, I got it. I got a title. Damaging Property. Same number of letters. For the kaiju. Property damages doesn't work. It's just short one letter. So damaging.
Well,
that
damaging
doesn't-
property is very Dresden Files, right?
But it's
Yeah.
a
Buildings on fire.
That's
and
not
it
quite
was
the
his
title,
fault.
though. It doesn't-
It's more
I-
like Damaging Property, the unofficial biography. Like,
it's the codex that'll be released alongside, BAT.
Just a huge like index of this was damage and that was damage and this thing and it cost that much and just like throughout the entire series of all the damage he caused.
I just want the book to start. The building was on fire. It was my fault. This time.
Oh, the aircraft carrier was on fire. It was-
The aircraft carrier was on fire. And the next line, I didn't think steel could burn.
jeez, nope. We're gonna dodge that like fucking Neo. What's the next thing?
I think somewhere he
Oh, crap, I didn't
confirmed
mean it like that.
when
Joan
did
of Arc-
steel beams?
I am ignoring this. I'm talking. Joan of Arc was a Knight of the Cross, and kind of like some Knights of the Cross might be, not very stable because it can lead towards zealotry anyway.
And
Makes
then she
sense.
died.
Mm-hmm.
I always figured she was either a Summer Knight or a Knight of the Cross.
A bit too Christian to be a Summer Knight, I think.
Well, I mean, it was just because she was a contemporary of Gita Reyes and he was the Winter Knight, so it was like nice symmetry there.
And was
Why
it
not both?
Vulcan?
Well, that's what I also said. Okay, maybe she could be both, but that I don't think those would
Didn't
play
catch
well.
the name. Who were we talking about?
Joan of Arc?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Because it's Mab and Leia who are fans of taking that sword and not having it anymore. I don't know if that's it's a Winter thing to hate the swords or a Fae thing.
It
I
might
imagine
be,
it's a practicality thing.
yeah, it might just be one of those like we're gonna pocket this favor for later because Leah's like, yeah, I'm gonna hold this sword and I'm gonna be able to use that as a big bargaining chip. Like because they were giving it to Mavra, right? Like Leah didn't keep it. She was gonna let Mavra get it destroyed.
Right.
Because
So-
she wanted the Athame.
Right. And we know Mab is not averse to sending certain people out to pick up a variety of powerful Christian objects. So
That was
Or
one
his own
time.
use, though, or so it seems.
Hmm.
She wasn't like, give him to me.
well, no, but I mean, let's face it. We don't know that she was like, give it to me. because
Well, she
we
didn't
only
say
saw the
that
one boardroom
yet.
meeting. You think she wants Marcone to know what's down there?
Well, like maybe she'll do it later, but she hasn't done it yet.
Right.
Like,
Well, we've got, what, 3 weeks between Skin Game and Peace Talk, so there's
I
time.
thought it was 3 months.
3 weeks, 3 months, same day. It's a very protracted period of time.
Point is, Murphy's still damaged. That was the
I don't
takeaway
like
from
the
it.
image here. Usually, it was 1 year, one book, about 1 year in between each book. In story. Now it's 3 years, 3 months.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Not a fan.
Right, your local congressman.
Okay. So you're saying it's 3 years, 3 months between
No,
when the last book was
he's
set?
saying 3 years real time, 3 months
3
real
months
time.
in universe.
Okay.
He's bitching because it's
As he
Andreas.
always does.
Everyone, this is the token moment where Andreas gets to tell you he's still mad that Peace Talks isn't out.
I'm not mad. I'm just impatient.
You sound like a boyfriend, like a boyfriend, like a bad boyfriend. I would want anyone to. I'm not mad. Is that maybe that joke didn't land? I mean,
That's,
that's
just
not right.
that's a girlfriend.
I mean,
Is it?
I was channeling the dad thing, but you know,
Oh, okay.
I'm not mad. I'm disappointed is definitely
That's a parent thing.
That's a
Yeah.
parent thing.
Yeah.
And it's way worse than when they're just mad. You know, instead you're down like, I'm not mad at you. I'm disappointed. And he's like, can't you just be mad at me? That's way
Sorry, I
worse.
got us off on a tangent. What's next?
Well, that is the end of our short list.
Strike 68.
Oh, I should have typed that in.
You guys were all excited to talk about the female Merlin, and you didn't even include that. You got Joan of Arc in there, but
There were
Yeah.
Lady Merlins.
because I
Are
thought
they-
Joan of Arc was more interesting.
Are they called Morganas? Or are they just like
No.
still-
People keep
I
talking,
read
are they
that somewhere.
Morganas? Are they Merlinas? Come on, you're the Merlin.
I
You
was
take
thinking
that
the title.
respect.
yeah, Merlin
I
is a
think it's
title. It
titled
just
The
so
Merlin,
happened that the
right?
first guy to have the title was a dude.
In English, it's probably just Merlin, but in Latin, it's probably Merlinus, Merlina, right? Wouldn't it be?
Ask
And-
someone
and
who's
Guess what?
Fine.
He's a wizard. He could give a fuck what the Romans call him. So
Mhm.
Well, they use Latin in their official language. That's not like it's a relevant point.
maybe
If it
wizards.
mattered,
I don't know.
Merlinus, Merlina, but only in a
Wait,
different language. In English,
Apparently,
it's Merlin.
Jim doesn't give a shit. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh, well, there it
so
is.
canon is he doesn't give a shit. Like,
Well, yeah. Ultimately, sometimes run out.
you're
the
technically
consequences.
correct in the same vein that the French can tell me how to pronounce my name, but it's not how it's pronounced. So yes, by the rules in the language, you are correct, but you're still wrong because that's not how it's pronounced. So
Thanks, Dad.
you're welcome.
Okay.
You had a good laugh there, good chuckle.
Sensible chuckle.
Would we like to move on to the short stories, or are there more tidbits in the Q&A that we care about?
We
care
can't hit
about all
one of
tidbits.
them. We got what?
Yeah, we care definitely about all of them, including we should probably talk about how he came up with the Dresden Files, how many books he's going to write. Oh, yeah. That was like
So
to the heart, apparently.
something I'm curious about though. Why is it set in Chicago?
It's a good question that nobody's ever asked before.
We should ask
so-
that next time he's on the podcast, yeah?
Right. We should have him on April Fools, and we should just do that. We should just go down like all of them.
It's a good way to guarantee he never comes back. Yeah.
Top 10. Okay, so it sounds like we're moving on to the short stories because there's a bunch of those. They've been out, so we hadn't talked about them yet, but we might as well because new book is a new book.
Yeah, we'll at least get to a couple of them if we want to go from first towards the end. It started with Curses.
Curses, which was a cute story.
And
So-
now doesn't matter anymore.
I know, right? Because they broke the curse.
He definitely wrote it during the time it was still relevant. Good for him.
Right.
Plot
So-
synopsis, please.
I guess even the Billy Goat,
Oh, that right.
the elf guy, got tired of seeing them loose.
Yes, the synopsis is there was a guy who took a goat to a Cubs game way back when, and they got kicked out because the goat was smelly.
1908, right?
I don't
It's
remember.
supposed to be smelly.
Right.
Something like that.
And that dude happened to be the king of the, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I think Tilwas Tig. And he decided to curse the Cubs from never winning again, except he had to keep doing the curse over and over again. And new people wanted to put a lot of money into the baseball games, so they wanted Dresden to break the curse. And Dresden said no.
Ultimately, I mean, there's more to it because like he went and actually met with them, and the dude explained the curse, and Dresden and him had a nice, cute little moment where they talked about the point of the game isn't necessarily whether you win or lose. And so they have this nice, cute little moment that talks about, sports as like a moral engine. And then they sit and watch a game together, right? So, like, I just thought it was a very, like, wholesome little story. So,
he's basically saying he's not going to redo the curse anymore, and it's just going to end, and then eventually they'll win and a whole bunch of money. And
actually does touch on that eventually enough humans is going to want the Cubs to win so much that it's going to break the curse.
And
there's nothing you can do about it.
And
so that's what happened.
Right.
It only took 108 years, but yeah.
Something I really appreciate about that short story is how it touches on that kind of crassness of marketing and commercialization, and the value of doing things not out of some kind of desire for victory or any kind of reward, other than just because it is a joy to do it or to be there and to hang out with people. That's one of the very human elements I really appreciate about the series. And this story just has that in spades.
And also, goats are supposed to be smelly.
They are supposed to be smelly. Exactly. I may actually be the king of those guys. You don't know.
No, I know you're not.
I'm so glad that we're on the internet and I don't have to smell any of y'all. So.
Oh yeah, you have no idea. Loft in Fresno. Yeah, I know. I turned on the AC just so that I could wear a shirt. I should have said that.
I'm confused, but I'm not but not that I need an answer. Just gonna leave it at confused. So,
all right. I didn't get
after curses, we have the quadruple A wizardry.
And Justin cursed himself. There is a Megan in quadruple A wizardry.
Oh,
I cursed myself?
Yeah, because at some point, a few episodes ago, you said, well, we haven't found a Megan yet. And so I said, just wait, there's going to be one somewhere. See? And then I read the story, and I had to text you. It was like, there's a Megan.
I told you, this is one of the two that I haven't read. And this one's been out for like a long time, so it's just on me. But this one was originally published in the Evil Hat RPG, so yeah.
He's basically teaching a class to a whole bunch of baby wardens of like how to do your job well and not get killed or let anyone else get killed, and showing through a story that he went to what was it? Oh, Peculiar. It was Peculiar is the name of the town next to Kansas City. And there was a girl named like Megan.
I definitely need to read this story then. I thought it was just more Bob and Dresden being hams or something. So
no,
I really like that story. I hadn't read it before the anthology either. Or the collection.
Briefcases.
I mean, I really have no excuse because I have the PDFs and everything like that. So I definitely just need to read that, and I have the book. I should just go read the book.
It's pretty good. All of the A's stand for something, and it's the story of how a family with like mother named Megan with kids, they kind of have a little bit of talent, and how they're trying to deal with having that talent, and they're probably involved in the Paranet by now.
Nice.
So I won't spoil it for Justin, even though that's kind of breaking the pattern we usually do.
This is definitely outside of the statute of limitations on spoilers. Like, I've done it to myself. Is ultimately like spoilers for Avengers for you. Like, come on, that was 6 years ago. It's spoilers that ship sailed. So this is a similar vein. It's not quite 6 years, but yeah. I like how the Paranet keeps cropping up in some of the short stories and stuff too, because as we'll get to, it shows up in the Bigfoot trilogy as well. So I'm excited about that, because that as soon as I saw that, I was like, well, there's some potential, and that became part of my headcanon for my hopes for what the ending is going to be like. But
yeah, Paranet's exciting.
that seems like for now, I think it's the right place for the Paranet, for them to show up in a heavy way. They're not really ready for the big leagues yet. They're still just kind of that fragile spider's web of connections and slight support here and there. And Washington or Oregon fell or whatever up in Ghost Story. So they're really not. They're being a bit battle hardened, but they're still kind of figuring things out and getting a little entrenched, getting a little bit more support.
No, I wouldn't even use battle hardened because they're lesser talents than even the alphas.
So I didn't even know battle hardened, but they've been through some stuff.
How many Reddit arguments do you think they've gotten into? They're battle
hardened. Right. They are keyboard warriors. So
Gary is the best character in the Dresden Files. Fight me. No.
Never even met him. I've seen him.
Never met you either.
But I mean, we haven't seen him. He's only been referred to.
That's true.
He's actually just a figment of all their imaginations collectively.
He's the epiphenomenon of the Paranet gained consciousness.
Well, they're all minor practitioners, so they just kind of came up with Gary.
You guys are weird.
I love how you say that with a sense of superiority, like you're not.
Yeah.
Crazy out the concept. One. Everyone affiliated with Paranet, who goes to sleep, joins like this cloud network of smaller powers to create Gary while asleep.
So he's like Paranet Voltron? I mean,
Paranet.
Who forms the head?
He's Paranet Bob.
Paranet Bob. No, this is complete garbage. Okay, next story.
Oh, you noticed.
Okay. You be quiet there. I'm going to tell you. Who Mab is. Okay, next one.
Go ahead.
And next story is Even Hand, which I thoroughly enjoyed myself, even though I didn't have the audiobook or Butcher's recording of Marcone himself.
Oh, it's really good.
Right. I need to track that one down for sure, like the audio for it anyway. I've had to go through that one twice, and the second time was so much better because I think part of it was I had read Bombshells before reading it the second time, and like some of the little tidbits that I picked up the second time was like, holy shit, like just these little things where it's like Marcone is dangerous and there's a whole lot more other crazy magic that gets referenced and everything. Yeah. So
it was really cool since I hadn't read these things because I've been waiting for briefcases for years, is that reading Even Hand and then getting to read Bombshells and seeing how connected they were was really cool.
Right. Well, like
the bad guys.
The bullet, or the bad guys for sure, but the bullet, like at the end as well. Like, I mean, that was one of my biggest takeaways. Two great moments there because it has to be under super specific conditions that, a Valkyrie is a little bit better suited to being around when that shit happens. And then the fact that it was slated for Dresden and it was untested up until that point. And they're like, sweet, we should find some more of these, just in case. So
it was very hard to find, apparently. Very, 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 very hard.
Well, considering, it was shit. Why can't I remember the battle now? Trafalgar, right?
For once, not the Battle of Hastings.
Right.
Which she was at.
Right. Mm-hmm. So kind of interesting stuff. And I think part of it is the fact that it is a bullet. So there's only so much of, comparable history where one of those could be retrieved. But just some very interesting.
Can they melt down like other artifacts for it?
Maybe in some cases. But I mean, the specific instance here that I understood was that like a good hero had to be felled by this bullet, like because they pulled it from Hornblower, didn't they? Wasn't that am I pulling the wrong?
That was Nelson.
Okay. Sorry.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I could be wrong too. It's been a while that since I read this the one time.
Right.
It was really fun, but I kind of forgot this.
Yeah, and I haven't reread it since the book's been out. So it's been probably a year or so since I read it the second time. But yeah, so it's just super interesting, with that magic and the fact that there's shit like this out in the universe where it's like, I could shoot a bullet that'll cut through all your magical defenses and just kill you. I mean, I can't do it all the time, but it's there. So
it was really cool to see Marcone's like inner thoughts and how he works through problems. Especially as he was considering, like, do I kill Justine? Do I not?
Right.
Is it worth it?
Even Hand is probably the best of the best of those stories in the up until the new one, up until Zoo Day. Even Hand is just a stellar little perspective.
It is a little weird that Justine is involved in both of these incidents.
Because bombshells as well. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
That's a fair point that you say that now. It might be a coincidence, but there's a whole lot of those in the Dresden Files. So,
Mm-hmm.
The handmaiden, the untouchable handmaiden of the, what is it? I almost said White Council, the White Court.
De facto ruler of the White Court.
Right. She's got a bit more pull and is a bit more involved than we think. Her pregnancy and peace talks is going to be probably a bigger deal than we realize.
Oh man, can you imagine the pile of bodies? I'm so excited. Like even without that, like what's crazy to me about peace talks is that is almost a B plot, right? Except that because it's Dresden that it's going to be one of the main pieces there. But like even if we didn't have some crazy bullshit like that, there's going to be a pile of bodies. And then you just know some asshole's going to fucking take a swing at her. And let alone the rage Thomas is going to unleash, let alone what Dresden is going to do. Now they're both going to be there. Like,
and then Ebenezer's going to be involved.
Right? I'm so excited.
With his second grandchild? Yeah. No, great-grandchild.
Yes, sir.
Great-grandchild.
Don't forget Bonnie.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, third. Yeah. His third great-grandchild.
Well,
yeah, you know the stories are going to connect somehow because that's how all these novels are, except, like a couple of them aren't, where they have the A plot, B plot, and they're connected somehow, and that's the mystery. That's right. A resolution or reveal. I was more interested, not so much that it's Dresden, Justine's pregnancy is going to be a big deal. I'm curious, in light of the bombshells and Even Hand, whether because it's Justine, whether there's going to be some character building or moments for Justine in Peace Talks. I really hope there are in that sense, where we get a sense more for her and her perspective and her involvement in the various supernatural communities. She's just in a prime position for that in this novel. We kind of a wasted opportunity if you weren't.
I don't know. I think it's going to be Thomas heavy through his lens because Justine, if we, there's this whole backdrop of the stuff that's going on with the Fomor, and she'll probably be there, at least to some degree, because, she's Lara's right-hand woman and a spy for them and this, that, and the other thing. But how much character building you get to do with that when you've got all these new characters you're going to also have to introduce, there might not be room.
I'm very interested in knowing the word count of Peace Talks.
It's definitely feeling like the movie where all of the cast is going to get together and you're going to be like, oh my God. So
there's going to be a lot of PvP, he said, which is one of the reasons it's taking so long.
Right. And the whole talking about Ebenezer thing, it was like, so the last time somebody fucked with Ebenezer's family, he lit off a volcano. So like
earthquakes.
He pulled down a satellite.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean that was just the one guy. It wasn't like so. Yeah, I'm just like Chicago's not going to make it this time, is it? Like we're going to have to move the book finally to a different place so people can stop asking.
Kansas City, finally,
right? It's revealed. It's finally time. But yeah, I mean, because it's like Ebenezer by himself would crush Chicago, let alone all the other fuckers lighting off all their fireworks and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So excited.
So excited.
Until we get to
see if he tweeted yet. I mean, come on.
Until we get to the point where she's actually giving birth and it's like Padme.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Yep.
No.
She's gonna
it
die.
It looks like she gave up her the will to live.
All the magic in the universe, and she dies of sadness.
Well, in this case, at least there's a potential reason. Like, her funneling out a White Court baby could very easily kill her.
Right, which is a distinct possibility. But what I'm thinking is that Cal is going to use a death curse on the baby, and she's going to save it with love.
Which is fine. As long as she dies, that's a good, because that kicks off Thomas as his soul father, not knowing if he's going to turn to Dresden or his sister for, help. and he's got a potential spiral coming.
I still think Thomas needs to take Amarachius and then become king of White Court.
Yeah, but that's too
Yeah,
too
I know. I honestly, as much as I hate the idea, but I love it, I'm super excited to see Thomas be like the brooding vampire king, where it's like,
Right.
would somebody turn on some fucking lights? Like that, like I'm
and
just
it's
waiting.
strobe lights, and he gets more pissed off.
Well, he's White Court. They're immune to strobe lights.
Yeah, so I think strobe lights would just be kind of what they have. Or
It's
track
the
lighting.
constant. You gotta
Like, no
worry
way,
about
I
it,
meant, oh, fuck it.
So hang on. So what you're saying, Justin, is that there's a death curse against the child. The child is saved by love from the mother. So what you're saying is that Harry's niece or nephew is the Dresden First Harry Potter.
No.
Well, I mean,
No.
in a way.
That's literally which means that Thomas
it's what I
would
was.
be Uncle Dursley.
He'd be what?
Would be Uncle Dursley? No, okay, no.
Oh, jeez. I mean, really,
He
Thomas
had
is
something
more
to
of a
do with
saint.
this.
Like somehow in 15 years he's going to kill Dresden, the head of Hogwarts, and then he's going to be like, after all this time and always, and now everybody can have their little heartstrings, play your little violins and stuff. I'm sorry. I'll see myself out.
Well, you can do the plug. We're just about at an hour. Maybe this is a good time to start.
Right? Well,
Good timing.
Wrap it up.
Remember how many books we did, so we know that for next episode.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I'll actually take notes this time.
since
Jeez.
Ben didn't listen to the last episode,
Oh
so we
my
can
goodness!
He didn't even
That's
bother to show up
immortalized. The
either.
internet will never forget that I didn't watch the last episode.
Yeah.
No, it's not that you weren't here.
Right.
So if you guys suffered through this show and you'd like other podcasts to watch, we are part of the Broken Jars XYZ network. So you can go to brokenjars.xyz. You can find other podcasts like Dangerous to Go Alone, which is a podcast about nerd and geek culture. You can find the Great Scott Podcast, which is a podcast about The Office. You can find High Fantasy, which the director is super excited to talk about.
Yeah, we record sometimes when we're not exhausted by life. Once in a while, that gets in the way.
Life
Nonsense.
finds
We
a
don't-
way. I have it on good authority. Life finds a way.
And then we've got Sid Talk, which is the newest edition, where Jacob talks about simulations and stuff.
Because he doesn't get enough of that at work.
Right.
Mm.
Good nerds, they do nerd things at work. They come home and do nerd things.
Wait, what kind of simulations? We're talking SimCity? We're talking like
Don't you
Climate
ask this
change
like
models.
every time?
For at least the last
Yeah.
three.
It's
What is this?
it's more like manufacturing type stuff,
Oh,
like
okay.
simulating manufacturing processes and efficiencies. And I say that, but I mean, he works for a big package company. I don't know if he wants to be outed or whatever, but so like shipping and how much can you process and that sort of thing. So that's what I understand of it anyway. So
Yep.
So
I thought you were just going to hit the button. I was just waiting
I was
for it.
tempted, but I felt like I should cut someone off in the middle of a sentence to do it. But
So you're
if-
going to do it to yourself?
I don't know. Say bye.
Bye.
Bye.